because I have a puppy closed into this room with me, and he likes to talk back.
Oh, you have a new puppy?
We've had him a couple months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I have a puppy closed into this room. So much.
What's a puppy's name?
His name is Bruce, and he's a little
Oh.
Cute. Thank you. We love him.
Well, good.
Madam Chair, we are recording and we are on YouTube, so thank you for your patience, everyone.
Okay. Well, everyone, welcome and thank you for attending tonight. Again, let's do a roll call and an official roll call, please.
Commission Member Wilson,
Here.
Commission Member Hudson,
Here.
Commission Member Stevens, Commission Member Lawson, Commission Member Ward, Commission Member Helfrey,
Here.
Commission Member Tripp, Council Liaison Garitano.
Here.
Staff Liaison. Hey,
Hey, Joe.
Hi.
Hi.
Staff Liaison Cruz and Chair Siebert.
Here. Okay. All right. We don't have a quorum, so we're not gonna approve the minutes from November 3rd.
Madam Chair, we do now with Mr. Garitano.
Oh, that's right. He's here. Okay.
He is the lifesaver tonight.
All right. If everybody's gone over them, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? No, the minutes are approved. Good.
Thank you.
Okay, public comments. Is there anyone attending?
No, ma'am, there are no attendees on the list tonight, and we did not receive any written comments relative to tonight's agenda or meeting.
Okay, all right. All right, the adopted budget is next on the agenda for 2022, and the budget was approved by City Council. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair and members of the commission. As you know, we presented the budget to you at our last meeting in November. The budget was at $100,000. And with the assistance of Councilmember Garitano, it was successfully included in the budget, and we have funding for 2022.
Wonderful, really good. I do have a question on that. That 100,000, what if prices for any of the items are increased? What happens? Is there wiggle room in that 100,000? Or do we go back to City Council if we need additional funds?
I'm going to let Mr. Garitano probably answer that question. I will just say that one option we have is to maybe redouble or start our sponsorship efforts earlier than later. As you know,
Okay.
Last year we raised with in-kind and actual donations over $10,000. So that gives us some wiggle room relative to funding.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And as I say, I prefer Mr. Garitano, the council liaison, to maybe respond to the other.
Okay.
Well, sure. And you could always go back to the council to ask, and there is a mid-year budget adjustment that they could make the adjustment at that time to the budget. So the council would figure out, how to adjust it to keep the balanced budget in place. But yeah, Mr. Vunich made a good point, try to do everything that we can to, ensure that we've got good contributions, and then, if it comes to it, go to the council with the ask.
And the reason that I brought that up, so many companies, firms are raising prices on items, and part of it's due to COVID and lack of business. That's why I brought that up. But that's a good point. We can start early. And if we have to, hopefully not, go to the council if we need additional funding. And hopefully it wouldn't be that much. But at least I wanted to bring that up and get it on the record that we can do that. All right. Our agenda, and I read through everything that was written in November. You did cover a lot of ground. All right, so Mr. Vunich, do you want to talk about the details, you or Mr. Cruz?
Well, certainly, Mr. Cruz can add to the discussion, as well as those commission members that were in attendance in November.
Okay.
But we left some major decisions to be made at tonight's meeting. And the first item under the major agenda heading is, do we have a combined event or separate events? And as I say, we talked about it in November. I think there's a mention of it in the meeting minutes. But there was, I think, that group was leaning toward a combined event again in 2022, just because of our funding limits, which we anticipated to be the $100,000, as well as just the uncertainty again with COVID-19.
Does anyone want to comment on that? Vicky, Libby, any comments?
Well, it looks to me like we need to, I thought that when we left it, we were planning on having just one event, because it looks like the money isn't really there to do two.
Right.
And I think that with the staff that we have in this city, I think they pull off these events, even though they look effortless. I know that you guys work so very, very hard, and I have no doubt that we can put together a great one-day event.
Okay. I tend to agree with that, and maybe since we did have a great event, more artists will participate in 22. Hopefully.
Madam-
because yes,
Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Vunich, no, go ahead.
No, I apologize. You were saying something.
Bentley. Sorry. All right. That's his pig squeal. Okay. All right. So we can all assume we're going to go with one event then?
And again, Madam Chair, that's the direction we were heading in November, but we lacked a quorum, so we couldn't make a vote. That's why it's kind of come back again. Tonight, we do have a quorum, so we can make a motion, ask for a second to that motion, and vote, do a voice vote.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion that we have one event and call it the Wildwood, Celebrate Wildwood Art Festival. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Any no's? Okay, it's going to be one event then. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The next thing on that was the date or dates of the event? Well, everyone that I talked to at Celebrate Wildwood, including not just all the vendors and participants, but the crowd of people and our commission members, everyone was thrilled with very happy with the latter date in September. No one really wanted heat like the end of August, beginning of September. No one. So the dates that were proposed were, wait a minute, let me see, where's the notice? I think it was, do you remember? Oh, wait, here it is. Mr. Vunich, I'm going to ask you for some help on that. The dates that you were proposing for the latter part, Mr. Cruz, one of you?
September 24th and September 25th. That's a Saturday, Sunday. And we did have a discussion about having the portion of the event on the Sunday itself, more so for the artist than anything else.
Okay. How does anyone, Vicky, Libby, Sharon, Joe, how do you feel about that weekend?
I like it.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Libby.
I like the later September date. I think it works really well from a temperature perspective and the time of year when, kids were already back in school, and, I definitely am in favor of the later September date.
Good. Okay. Vicky?
I think it's great. If that's the best date for the city, I think that's fantastic.
Okay. Sharon?
I like it too. I think it's the weather is much better.
And Joe?
It was perfect, that date. So I would love to keep it. And,
Okay.
it was good. I don't want to go further than that because October starts to get a little tricky with the fall rain and, cooler temperatures. So if it's like what we had, then it's perfect.
Okay. And it's not interfering with anything else going on?
Citywide, city-wise, no. Obviously, we have a open schedule the couple of weeks before, and then we have an open schedule beyond for a couple more weeks. So it gives the police an opportunity to get rest in between the major events we have in August, beginning of September, and then the end of October. Competition-wise across the metropolitan region, we did do an analysis, and generally speaking, we're okay. The St. Louis Art Fair or in Clayton is earlier. There is one, I believe, in Francis Park, but I don't think last year we competed with that. So generally speaking, we're always going to have competition somewhere, but I think it's a pretty good date still.
Okay. All right. Before we take a vote on the date, let's talk about, is it going to be one day, a day and a half, something on Friday night? And is the Wildwood Business Bureau, who was going to do the thing on Friday night this past year, and then they canceled it, releasing the what were they?
The lanterns, I think.
Yeah, the lanterns. Thank you.
Mhm.
So since they canceled for 21, is there any indication that they would like to do something in 22? Have you heard anything, Gary? No?
No, not a thing.
Madam Chair, please, Mr. Garitano, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, from what I heard, like with the work that took place for the Winter Festival in December, I kind of got the impression they may be a bit stretched with what they are able to do.
Mhm.
And so we may not want to kind of make that assumption that they can unless they're, things change for them. But that's the impression I got from the holiday winter festival folks that I talked with, that they did not, they weren't able to be able to step up as much as we would have liked to.
Okay. All right. So then, what's the feeling then on the length of the event?
Did we have any feedback from the artists or craft people if they would like to be there longer, or any other input?
No, nothing was received. Most of the crafters and stuff, we got positive comments back on. The artists, I didn't hear much from them.
So
Okay.
they gave positive feedback with just the 1-day event?
No, I kind of think that's why the artists are a little laid back with this, because they usually don't care for a 1-day event.
Right, time they bring all that stuff out and set it all
Right,
up,
right.
they need more than 1 day to make a profit. Or worth their while.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe because of our budget right now, I don't know if 100,000 would be enough to do a day and a half.
Susan?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think you're right about the budget. We might be pushing it. And, it's a lot of work. I think 1 day, I feel like I'd rather have one really good, successful day than
Mhm.
a team that's kind of really tired over a day and a half. I mean, if it was a 2 full days, then probably it's worth going, but I'm not pushing for that. I don't think we have the resources, but it seems like that half day kind of ends quick. And the big event is really the 1 day. That's what brings
Right.
people to it. And I would just focus on putting all that energy into one successful day.
And another point, if we have it on 1 day, only 1 day, people know if they want to go, that is their only opportunity. They can't say, well, I'll go tomorrow. And then something comes up and they never attend. So I think if we really work at a 1 day, and you're right about the people that work for the city of Wildwood, putting this up, I mean, doing all the work, the police, setting up all those tents and all that, working with all the contractors, that is one heck of a big effort, and by the time it ends, they're exhausted. And the thought of having to come back and do it again is pretty tough. So I don't know. I'm in favor of 1 day, but that's me. You are. Anyone else?
1 day.
Okay.
What is,
Hello, can we ask Mr. Runich and Gary what their opinions are on it? Because they're the ones that are out there in the trenches, and they're the ones that kind of have done this
Okay.
multiple times. Let's ask them. Can we do that? Thank you.
Sure. Gary? Joe?
I'm gonna
Your
let Gary go
thoughts.
first.
I don't mind either way, what we decide, but I'm telling you at the end, like at the end of our last year's event, I think most of the staff was pretty drained at the end of that. Because even after the event is over with, we're there long after trying to tidy things up. And we would be there if it was a 2-day event, because we'd have to be getting ready for the next morning. So everything would be in place when we came in the early the next morning. So
The reason
if you were asking,
we are asking you because we've had so many discussions about this, and it's changed each year. It's been different the past few years. And there was talk about, well, if we rent the equipment for 2 days, it's already there. And then there was talk that maybe the artists wouldn't count. There was only 1 day. And so really, I think that you guys should drive this decision.
I think a half a day is kind of a waste.
Yeah,
Mhm.
That's just my opinion. So
yeah. Susan, I think it's very clear. I think we've got consensus. It's
Okay.
1 day.
All right. If everybody's in favor of 1 day, let's take a vote. All in favor? Well, I'll put a motion down on the floor. 1 day event. All in favor?
Give
Madam
me a
Chair,
second.
I second.
Oh, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carried. 1 day event.
Madam Chair, I assume that's September 24th, Saturday?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Okay, let's talk about the next thing on that list, the location. And I hope everyone read that synopsis that
No,
the department put together. Very good. Of the how many was it? 1, 2, 3, 5 different venues. And giving the minuses and the pluses of each.
So Madam Chair, if I could just take a few minutes of the commission members' time.
Mhm.
In the kind of the introduction to the memorandum, the department attempted to identify those characteristics that a venue location needs to accommodate a festival of the city's size. And so it has to do with the size of the tract of land or tracts of land, the availability of utilities, principal concern, parking, et cetera. And so that's why there isn't a whole number of different locations. There's only
Mhm.
5, because using that criteria, we ultimately ended up with those 5 as being the prime locations.
Okay. It seems clear from this synopsis, at least after I read it, that where we've had it in the past, Main Street in front of City Hall really is our best option if that is available to us. And my question would be, what would be option B? What would be the next, in your estimation, best place to have it? I think Lafayette High School, since they don't allow any kind of beer or wine or sparkling ciders or anything like that, that's kind of out. You know, because even if no one purchases it, the people attending the fireworks bring it themselves.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
so
And
I'm,
it's a major fundraiser for the Pond Athletic Association. So that association not being able to sell beer and wine would really harm their overall budget for the year. And again, if we're having a festival and we can help a lot of our not-for-profits, that's always been a goal of the commission.
right. So let's eliminate the high school. And the community park, you say, well, I mean, that's great, but the parking is terrible.
Yes, that probably is one of the nicer locations just from a setting standpoint,
Right.
but we would be almost entirely dependent on shuttle service, period.
Wow. And people don't like that. There, a majority of people, unless they see 50 different shuttles running all the time where it's easy to get on, get off, that kind of thing, most people aren't crazy about shuttle service.
Well, my experience has been at the barbecue bash, they hate it when they're coming, but after they've been greased for a while at the barbecue bash, it's not bad driving back.
Okay. All right.
But again, community park is a wonderful setting, but not necessarily one that functions the best for convenience.
So to me, the community college appears to be a good venue. And you do state they might have to rearrange some classes.
But in the past, they've been willing to accommodate that on a limited basis. And since our event doesn't require almost a week prior to the actual event days for setup, I think it'd be much easier if we do want to lean toward the community college, if in the end the commission doesn't support using Main Street as an option.
Okay. So would you think, Battler State Park, I remember in the very early years when Wildwood did use that. But there again, unless you know where it is, it doesn't have a lot of visibility. And I mean, parking, again, they park on the beginning and you still have to have you either shuttle to the event space or you're going to do a hike. Correct?
Correct. And in 2008, the state park system canceled the event on us because the fields were too wet to accommodate parking. We had no participation in that decision. And since 2008, we've not considered it. But given our circumstances, I didn't want to eliminate it without you all knowing the pluses and minuses.
So then it kind of sounds like our option B would be the community college. Is that?
Can I comment, Susan?
Of course.
Yeah, I too was thinking that, but I remember when the barbecue bash went over to the community college, there were a lot of people who did not like it. And that was a lot of feedback that they didn't like it. And in fact, they wanted it to come back to where it was on Main Street. And I'm afraid that if we try to do this, we're going to get the same kind of feedback because they don't like the shuttles.
Right.
And they also feel like, I kind of heard people saying it was because the college layout is like I think it's like an L shape. You almost don't really see the whole event. So they kind of feel like it's smaller depending on where it is. But, to provide my 2 cents for what it's worth, I like the Main Street. I mean, there are a lot of cities that don't even have a big field and they have a street festival on their streets, especially even where I come from. Right. In New York, they do a lot of that. And so I'm kind of thinking there, we probably could find a way to make that work. And I know that there's been creativity, there's pros and cons and looking at how you move things around. because there's also the upper level of the garage that is a big wide open area. And I know we looked at one time putting the art festival there while we were doing the other event. So I would encourage trying to see what can be done with that. And that way we keep it center. It is the center like of the city where we're
Yeah,
talking.
it's town center.
And the other thing too is that it brings people to that town center. So there's that positive effect that it makes people aware of the businesses that are part of the town center. So that would be it. And the only thing I just had was, Joe, remember when we were looking at this option last time, we were looking at locations and we didn't even know if we could use the property next to the theater. We thought maybe we would still maybe even look at the field of the 6 acres next to City Hall that the city acquired. Is that off the table, or do you think that might still be worth exploring? It's a little bit tucked away. It's like you're going to have people kind of walking up the City Hall driveway, and I don't know if that's going to even work, but I was wondering if that was just like, it's not worth it or what.
With the chair's permission, I did what I would consider a crude sketch of what I think a layout might look like on Main Street. And if I could share screen, I'll let you all see it.
Sure.
Joe, did you send that to me?
Yes, I did via email.
Who is that?
Mr. Newberry.
Hiding behind the logo.
Yes.
I'm not seeing it. I'm sorry.
If you all bear with Mr. Newberry and I for a second, we'll see if we can get this done for you here.
While we wait for that, one of the nice things too about Main Street is there's that street parking along Taylor Road. And then we have a good relationship with the new community church that has always allowed us to use their parking. So I would imagine we preserve some of that still. And then all the 100 parking spaces along Manchester Road. So that's another plus as far as parking for you staying in town center.
Travis or Joe, is there a way to make that map larger?
That's a great question for Mr. Newberry.
If you just widen it on your screen.
Nope, doesn't do that.
Okay, it did up for me, but.
Oh, got it. Never mind.
Mr. Newberry, there's in the middle of the toolbar, there's a plus and a minus and a circle. Could you try that?
I got it, Mr. Bunich.
Okay.
I just had to change the layout of my computer. Thank you, though.
Madam Chair, Mr. Cruz over the years has worked a number of different approaches to using Main Street, and there's nothing radically different here. To kind of orientate you with the assistance of Mr. Newberry, I'll show you where City Hall is. His cursor should be in that general vicinity there.
Right, it's right there.
And so in front of City Hall, there's Main Street. And at the end of Main Street, where we have our traditional concerts, that would still be the concert area. And we would leave that first rack of parking on either side available for seating. And then up the hill and on that vacant field, that would be the bounce houses and the kids' play area.
And
And
that's a
then,
good spot.
And then heading east, the major difference here is that I'm advocating for using Main Street basically from the parking garage all the way to Fountain Place. So doubling the size that's available to us. What that does is that it does preclude access to the theater and to the hotel. The hotel drop off, we can work that. We've done that in the past where they come in on Fountain Place, make the sharp U-turn and go back out on Fountain Place. And there's access to the hotel from the upper deck.
Mm-hmm.
Theater, I'm hopeful that there'll be an access as part of Prime Place that can be used, or there's available parking obviously on Main Street and the upper deck of the parking garage. I think if we start early enough and tell the hotel and theater what we're thinking, they're probably not going to like it, but at the end of the day, I think it's, again, an option we should consider. And then the food court would be in the open field across from us, and it would accommodate it, I think, very well. And then the Village Green, as Councilmember Garitano mentioned, that could be auxiliary space. If we need more, we've got more. And we could certainly figure out a way, as Mr. Cruz has in the past, to get visibility and access there. So the major change here is using more of Main Street and precluding, let's say, clear and unencumbered access to two businesses. But if we can plan ahead and get them on board, I think we can make something work and make it work pretty well for both of them.
Okay.
Mr. Renner, why?
What, Vicki?
Oh, so I'm just curious, and I know that you have looked at this 10,000 different ways. So I'm asking so that I understand why we feel the need to, if we have to block off the theater instead of putting some things up on Plaza Drive. Or is that not an option over on that side? If we're able to free up a way to access the movie theater and the hotel in the event that there isn't another access for those two businesses.
That's certainly an option, and I think it's one Mr. Cruz has identified in the past. In this particular case, we've had such success with keeping the booths all in, let's say, a single row and in a single location, and then having the food court nearby. I was trying to make it work that way, but certainly Market, a street, and Plaza Drive offer ample opportunity.
I would say that if there's not another access point for the movie theater, I think we just keep our option open with the Plaza Drive, because I don't know, it just seems like that would work.
Mm-hmm.
And the advantage to that, Ms. Humphrey, is from Plaza Drive, we have better visibility, at least out to Route 100.
Right, but I'm hoping that since we have made this a one-day event, that we're going to spend some money on some signage. So that's, cross your fingers.
And where would fireworks take place?
Well, if we don't use all of the Village Green, we could probably accommodate it there. We could maybe accommodate it back in the area behind City Hall or on the trail that surrounds the detention basin. So I think there's options out there.
Okay. All right. This plan, with Vicki's suggestions regarding Plaza Drive, I think is good. Any other comments?
Yeah, I think you're right. It looks really good and the best that we could do. And,
I like where the food court is too. I like that idea. I'm sorry, Joe, I cut you off.
No, that's fine. And, if you want to get an idea to think of what it looks like, we did have, I think it was this year, we had a concert or two, or maybe all of them, but, where they're at the end of Main Street, but the city sets up a couple of booths where we have, the kettle corn and the city giving out drinks, and then there's food. We had Kona Ice Truck parked there, and I think even something else. So it gives you a sense of what it feels like with booths along the street festival area. So people kind of walk, on both sides of that nice median that's in the middle there. So
Mhm.
I can see people kind of just like the way they walk around when we do the art or the crafters further up by Benedetto's. It's the same way, just shifting it over.
Okay. And Mr. Cruz, what was our total count on vendors between crafters and artists this past year?
We were up around 83, I believe.
That did not include food court or food suppliers. That was strictly
Right.
artists and
Right.
crafters,
Yes,
83.
ma'am. Yeah.
That is one heck of a good number. Wow.
Do we think that those numbers will be drastically different because it's going to be a one-day event?
Well, it was a one-day event last year, and I think it was so successful last year. I can't imagine the people that were there not wanting to come back
Okay.
in
Right.
2022.
I just forgot it was a one-day event. Sorry.
And any ballpark number of people you think attended? Was it 5,000, 7,000? Any number?
Well, if Officer DeGelder wants to offer a guess, I think that's the best we can give you. Certainly from the perspective of the vendors and the money they made, the crafters and the sales they had, it was a well-attended event.
Okay.
One
Yeah.
of the issues that we talked about at the last meeting was making sure that we had enough food vendors for the next year or this year event. So we just need to make sure wherever we do have the food vendors that, we'll have enough room to accommodate more than what we had in 2021.
Good point, Becky.
That was Libby.
I mean, Libby, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Very
Mr.
good
Newberry,
point.
you can turn off share screen. Thank you.
Okay. And I'm sure we'll keep that in mind and talk to the food vendors, purveyors, because there were a lot of people and some of the vendors were running out of food. So the only other thing would be the fireworks were way too late because it gets dark. Remember?
Yeah, we need to move the time up for the fireworks.
Yes.
Right. Mhm.
Because it got dark and a lot of people left
Maybe
before the fireworks. Yes, Joe.
I got a suggestion. I don't know if it's been looked at, but it seems to be gaining popularity and it would be very unique. And also you eliminate the noise that people sometimes complain about. But apparently they're doing drones where they, you can hire a company that they send out drones and they do kind of like a show in the sky. I'm going to guess it's probably going to cost maybe more than what we pay, but maybe it's worth just trying to see what asking what it is. Maybe it's something. And with that, you don't have to worry about doing it, where with fireworks, you got to make sure you have space to do that. Drones,
Mhm.
send them up like over the 6 acres right there or over City Hall or something like that. Just worth a thought, just a thought as I was hearing you talk about it.
Mhm. Something different.
Mr. Garitano, we can investigate that for you. So we'll hopefully have an answer here
Yeah.
at the next meeting or two.
Yeah, we'll at least learn. I mean, it might be a number we just can't afford, but it doesn't hurt to find out what it is.
And Madam Chair, I think more people left because of the band than the fireworks being at 9:15.
And
Quite frankly.
that's another thing. That band in the evening. There
We've
was
already selected Teddy McCreary as that headliner for the evening show.
Mm-hmm.
With the permission of the commission, I'm going to turn Mr. Cruz loose to kind of do his magic on a layout, which is inclusive of Plaza Drive versus Main Street in front of the theater. And we'll hopefully have something back to you in February, more tangible than what I just provided. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So let me just see, did we cover everything? Parade, the parade component.
And just briefly, Madam Chair, at our debriefing after the event at the end of September, there was a desire not to let the parade languish to the last minute. So I'm putting it on the agenda every time. I don't necessarily have anything to provide tonight, but certainly if there are suggestions from the commission members, we can start building that list and incorporating them as we go.
I think the parade was a great success. Anyone else?
I agree. I think we just need to work on the route a little bit and the flow, making sure that it doesn't get delayed with handing out candy and things like that.
Mhm.
Some of the things we talked about at the previous meeting. But yeah, overall, I think it was great.
Okay, Vicky, Sharon?
I concur with what Libby just said.
Okay. Sharon? Okay. Mr. Garitano? Anything, any comments from you regarding the parade?
No, you already said what I was thinking.
Okay, all right.
Madam
The
Chair,
last, yes,
if I could maybe pull away a couple layers of the onion here. So when we talk about the route, do we want to go back to Schnucks? Or should we stay at New Community Church and look at options there in terms of improving the route? I guess I'd like to get a little bit more information before we leave the meeting today. Thank you.
I think the community church was good, coming around the circle. Libby, you were the judge. What do you think?
I mean, I liked it from the community church. I thought we just had some feedback that we may want to extend it farther up Main Street, or there was just some logistical, like, I don't think it was anything major, just some minor adjustments that we could make, but it seemed like it flowed well from the community church, just maybe backed up a little bit, but you know, I think those are things we could work through.
Okay. I agree. It did seem to, there were a couple of little bottlenecks, you know, where things kind of slowed up, came to a standstill. And part of that was the kids wanting the candy and people in the golf carts. You know, the kids loved it. So did the parents.
And Gary, maybe you had mentioned this previously when the floats were getting ready to move out of the community church. There were a lot of maybe parents dropping kids off, or just some, I mean, like things that we could figure out how to manage going forward. I don't think it was any big deal from what I remember from our conversation, but.
Actually, given what we had, it did work out really well. But what we were having is parents were dropping off the kids that were in the parade, and they weren't leaving. They were bringing their vehicle on, and they were just taking up spaces where we had planned to stage the parade. That worked out. But I think what else contributed to a little early confusion was we had people showing up that were going to be in the parade that weren't on our schedule. to be in the parade. So we fit them in. And, hopefully we can try and eliminate that next year, all the last minute people who just showed up. And we were just being nice guys and we got them worked out. It created a little confusion. I think Joe and I were the ones that were on site on the parking lot, and on both ends. On the end he was on the end I was on. It got really confusing for a short period of time, but it all worked out in the end.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, if we're starting with early on a lot of this, so hopefully we can work a lot of this out. Don't you agree? We're getting a lot of the components, we voted on things, so it's not, last year we were we had COVID and everything, we kept pushing it. So this year, hopefully, we're starting early and we can work some of these issues out.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think Ms. Lawson had a comment.
I was just,
Hi, Corey.
hi, I did want to know because I've heard comments that we need to optimize the route, and I don't know what that means. Does that mean make it longer or make it go in different directions? Or I didn't really understand what optimize the route meant. Anybody?
Well, Ms. Lawson, I took that suggestion or comment to mean that we need to maybe look at staging a little bit more out on Manchester Road potentially. We closed Manchester Road at kind of an awkward location. We probably should have did it further to the west on Manchester Road, which would give us a lot more space, because we were still having people making the U-turn at a kind of an awkward location versus an intersection. So I think that's what I'd like to do, is maybe look at using a stretch of Manchester Road west of New Community Church for that purpose.
Right. Great idea. Great
Mhm.
idea.
That's a good idea. And if I can add this also, I think Ms. Wilson brought up a good suggestion about the flow of the parade. What was happening, and people didn't realize this, but when it got all bottled up down there by the roundabout, we had people back at the church that were staged, that it was when there was time to go, they cranked up their cars and their tractors and their go-karts. Well, then they were just sat there running. And it got to be really tense there for a little bit. So, but if everything would have been flowing smoothly, it would have went really well.
Okay. So then let's look into that and go further west on Manchester. Maybe down by the post office or something.
We may not need to go that far, but like I say, I'd like to work with the police department to have a better logical drop-off point. And maybe that drop-off point for the parents and their children isn't at the church parking lot. And so I just think there's some options out there we could explore to make things work a little bit better.
Okay. And you will look into those? Okay, great. Okay, let's talk about the last issue. Advertising, anything else? This is always, and I agree, so it's out there, let's hear it. We never have enough signage.
Thank you. All right, I'll shut up.
Huh? Pardon, Vicki?
I said, thank you. Since you said it, I won't have to say it. I think we need more signs, and we need to advertise it better to the people that aren't just along town center. And that's it. And
Have charter to make us do a commercial and broadcast it on cable TV. Come to
Well,
the Wildwood.
I don't have cable TV, so I still wouldn't see that. So we need
I'm just
signs.
kidding. I'm only kidding about that, but yes, I think advertising needs to be looked at.
Quite honestly, if we could figure out how to attach the signs to deer, we would have free advertisement because there's more deer, I think, than people sometimes. And that is totally a joke. Totally, don't do it. Right.
Well, that's a good point. I'm making a note of this because on my, one of the things that I've asked the Admin Public Works Committee to work on is we're going to do a citywide survey. And we're going to ask just some questions like, how people feel, living in the city is and, how the services they're receiving. It's something that the city's done before. So I'm going to make a note about how do they like to receive their communications and see if we learn anything out of that, because maybe, maybe we're doing what they want us to, or maybe maybe there might be some ideas of how we can communicate differently.
Well, we have a large area of Wildwood that doesn't, front town center, and those people miss out on those opportunities. And I know that the argument can be made that yes, we send out the Wildwood mailer, but quite honestly, everybody is so busy. I mean, that's the reality. Everybody is busy, and they sometimes don't remember. And so for them to have a sign on their Thursday or Friday before they're going, I think it's great. And I think especially people that, live over off of Wild Horse Creek Road, people that live, out further, places that don't necessarily drive by town center to get their groceries or their gas. That's the people that we need to attract. They are still Wildwood, and they're kind of, if they're not very, very organized, which I personally am not, they may not remember that this event's going on.
What about, and they have, we have them in town center. There are boards that have messages, electronic boards that have messages. Couldn't we put one on Wild Horse Creek Road and maybe other areas where our citizens are? If the other thing is these overpasses, like the footbridges, why can't we have a sign on those footbridges only for a couple days that say, celebrate Wildwood in town center? I mean, a lot of people pass on 100. I thought, what's wrong with putting it on the outside of that footbridge?
MoDOT won't like you. That's the easy answer. They don't even like it. I think if we put a farmer's market sign along 100 along the trail, if I remember correctly. Yeah. That's MoDOT.
Well, other towns do it.
Oh, that's if we want to take the risk.
I don't know.
Madam Chair, Ms. Lawson, I think had a question.
Yes.
Wasn't there something about those electronic signs that Wildwood specifically prohibits them?
We prohibit them for everybody, regardless if it's a commercial, industrial, institutional use. And in the past, when we've used those for our events, we've been criticized as basically saying one thing and doing another. And so we were told at that time to basically quit using them for advertising purposes and use them strictly for traffic information in construction zones. So we curtailed that based upon criticism we received.
I see. Okay.
But at February's meeting, I'm going to have some suggestions where I think we might be able to engage maybe some of the subdivisions. So in the what I would consider the perimeter area of Wildwood, and just some ideas on how we might be able to do something starting earlier than always later. And hopefully it'll get you all thinking, and then you can take it and make it much better. So again, this is just more getting it on the agenda and getting us starting to think about it now versus, let's say, June or July.
Okay. I was talking to a
Sharon,
neighbor.
Sharon, we can't hear you.
This is just a thought, but if we had signs made up about, like we did, yard signs made up that we did for the one this year, and maybe form like a committee, each one of us or the committee could take these signs and put them in front of some of these subdivisions around in Wildwood. That way people going in and out would surely see them. Just a thought.
The day after Celebrate Wildwood, I was walking Bentley down the street, and there's a fellow, he and his wife, they're relatively new. They're from New Orleans. And I had said to him, he asked, well, what's new? And I said, well, we had Celebrate Wildwood yesterday. And he said, well, what's that? And I said, I know you got notices. I know there were signs. He didn't know. So I thought.
You put the sign right in front of the neighborhood there.
I know.
Yeah.
He lives across from you almost.
Hey, yeah, the sign was right there. You probably passed it every day.
I don't know. So my thought was, in our neighborhood, I'm going to copy and print out for myself 163 of them, save the date, and go and hand it to them. Put it on their door. Save this date. And then, I don't know, a month before, a week before, something. I don't know, but your comment about the subdivisions is a good one. There are always going to be people that live out on acreage, and I don't know. Yeah. Yes, Joe.
I think with Corey, did you have your hand up? I had it. All right, I'll go after Corey then.
Okay.
All right, Corey.
I like getting texts about stuff that's going on. And I wonder if it would be okay for us to send texts to people about the event.
That's an idea, good idea.
Don't we have a mailing list of who get the newsletter from the website?
Well, I think what I was going to say might be tied into that. As far as texts go, I mean, the city doesn't have a repository of people's phone numbers. There's no master list. I mean, there might be, comments submitted and stuff like that, but we got to be careful about contacting people that are contacting the city for one reason, and then all of a sudden they're getting something else.
So, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe, you're going to send out a survey.
So that is what.
Wait.
Yeah.
It could be included as a question. Would you like to be contacted by a text?
Well, that's a good question. I will write it down as an option, but we'll have to figure out how we can do that, because we'll probably have to contract with a service if the city were to start to use that as a communication method.
Yeah,
and people would have to provide it.
Right. So there are lots of places where I like to buy stuff, and they'll say, can we contact you via texting? And if I want them to contact me, then I'll give them permission and give them my contact information. And that's something that seems like it might be useful. Would you like us to contact you this way?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people do it. A lot of companies do it. I don't know why Wildwood could not do it.
Well, the city could. I mean, it's no different than the city putting out on the website, give us your email if you want to receive the city
Yeah.
weekly newsletter. It would just be another service. It would be a text service.
Right.
And then, the city could figure out, again, there's a cost to that because, you have to do that. But, the city would need to determine, like, how do we want to do that? How do we want to use this? Like, if it is a text only for emergency communications, or is it for, or maybe we give people the option. Do you want to sign up just for emergency notifications, or do you want to sign up for all kinds of communications? And maybe some people like it, and some people may say, no, I don't want to get my information that way. I think you raise a good point, though. I mean, because like you said, it is becoming a more popular way, and maybe Wildwood would like to do that someday.
So with my own experience, I do get emails, but I don't look at them every day. This is not the way my life goes. I might look at them every day at night. After I've quit running around, I'll sit and look at my emails. But a text comes in and I'll see it. So,
well, I think it depends on the communication and the person. Like I will tell you from personal experience, I do a newsletter. When I do a newsletter, I very rarely get unsubscribes. And if they are, it's usually because somebody moved. I sent out an email just wishing everyone happy holidays, and I got like 5 or 6 unsubscribes, which was like, wow, that's a lot. And to me, that's like people probably that say, well, I really don't want to get just a happy holiday. I just want information from you. So I do think people have, different ways of getting information, but I think it's an option. One thing I was going to ask is, and I don't know if we have it in the budget, but we could do a postcard mailing to every household. I just don't know what that costs. The Department of Planning does that kind of stuff on a regular basis for notifications, but in smaller scale. We did do the we're actually going to have to figure out the postcard cost when we do the survey, because we're that's how we're going to ask people to participate. Otherwise, we don't have a way. Unless we wait for the next Gazette. Joe, do you know? Oh,
Joe, are you talking about that in lieu or in replacement of signage, the postcard?
no, it'd be complementing that in addition to everything.
I'm not trying to add to the city's workload, and I'm not trying to find ways to spend money. I think that if you send out the Wildwood newsletter, and then you follow it 2 days later with a post note, I don't think that's it. I think that there needs to be signs when people are driving down the road that they see that it says, hey, remember me. And I mean, that's just what I think. I think that every year, I say that every year. I'm pretty sure if you go back and check the records, I say it probably 10 times every year. Because I just, when you see things, signs for things on the side of the road, that you go, oh my gosh, hey, I'm going to go over there. And I think putting more things in people's mailboxes and more things in people's texts, I don't know that that's it. I think that could be, we could actually alienate more people by driving them crazy with that. So.
Oh, that's true. We're over communicating. One way you'll get people? Free food. If the city gives, a free hot dog for every attendee, I'm sure you'll get everyone to show up. I think food brings people out. That's another option. We go through 800 hot dogs at a concert. Like how long? Like an hour?
Less than an hour.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if there's not an objection on the commission's part, maybe we'll contact a couple of surrounding municipalities and ask them how they handle notifications via text and see if they have if they have a protocol already, or if they've tried it and it didn't work, or at least get some information so we can see if that's an option that we might consider.
Okay, good. All right. Is there anything else that anyone wants to comment on? If not, let's adjourn, and our next meeting date is February 2nd.
I do have one comment,
Yes.
I just want to say thanks to everyone. I don't get the chance or do it enough. And I know we've got a couple of commission members up for reappointment this next council meeting. So great to have the team that we have in place. So thank you. I really enjoy this group and, the stuff we come up. We have a lot of good discussion and we surely vet it all out. So it's great.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you, Joe. We enjoy you too.
And I get your newsletter and I love it, by the way.
I just wish I had more time.
And Joe,
Yeah.
I think if people unsubscribe because you wish them happy holidays, they're not opening it anyway.
Probably, who knows? I
Who
don't,
cares if they're
it's
gone?
all right.
Yeah.
It's all good.
You'll just raise your open rate if you lose those losers.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn for tonight?
I make the motion to adjourn.
Second,
Okay, we're adjourned. All in favor? Aye.
Bye,
Thank you, everyone.
everybody.
See you, everyone.
Talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon. Bye-bye. Good night.
bye.
Good night.